Ascendant in Leo, if someone is Leo's, it is because he was born in the period between July 23rd and August 22nd, approximately. Instead, to know if the ascendant is in Leo, it is necessary to know the time and place of birth, because it is the sign that appeared on the horizon at the east point, at the moment of the first breath, and suggests a destiny to learn to trust yourself following the path of your own heart. Every ascendant in Leo should be encouraged to differentiate himself from his family, in order to rely on himself and carry out the activities he likes, beyond the opinions of his environment. If you do not take the risk of listening to and following the creativity of your heart, your destiny will become desolate without the sun, and you will often be rolling around others trying to satisfy them. Your need to be accepted tends to inhibit it and adapt to others to be applauded. But to applause, you must first accept and applaud yourself instead of being repressed and censored. His life path proposes to encourage him to be sincere with what he really likes, even if no one approves or understands it. The kindness and the applause he expects from his environment must be given to himself first. Leo is a fixed and fire sign. He suggests a destiny of commitment to his own identity, a life to develop what he is passionate about without speculating on whether he will succeed, because if he does, he is not sincere and will never be happy. He should try to trust in committing himself with all his being in his creative projects, without the need for external approval, but only to listen to the beating of his own fire. He is happy doing what he loves, and that allows him to start calming his ego and minimizing the other's gaze. To throw yourself into the joy of being yourself, genuine and true, is to get your childish, selfish, and easily offensive personality to slowly dissolve, to allow yourself to be authentic, without so much pressure to be accepted. It is common for the ascendant in Leo to be trapped in suffering for not feeling recognized. When he chooses to live pending praise, he prefers a life that is unfortunate because it is dictated by other people's opinions. If you can't trust in approving yourself, you won't be able to trust someone approving you. You must stop giving importance to praises and criticism. Praise and defamation are two sides of the same coin in which, in both cases, it is the others who have power over their own existence and continue to enlarge a dependent and suffering ego. The more he enlarges his ego, offended or praised, it doesn't matter, the more he departs from his heart. Living at the expense of other people's opinions is feeding a very low level of Leo that inflates a dramatic, aggravated personality, which builds a lot of problems to attract attention and feel important. You must begin to understand how your ego needs conflicts to feel alive. You must start to discriminate that your ego is not your identity, but a tension in your personality, and therefore it seeks great tensions to inflate in the problems, because it lives from the negative and exists thanks to it lives from the negative and exists thanks to the no. The ascendant in Leo tends to move away from himself and continue to suffer, armed with a dramatic, conflicting personality that emphasizes problems and ridicules the creativity of others. It builds a life configured in a suffering ego, waiting for an approval that never arrives. Ascendant Leo will organize the birth homes and experiences in a particular way. However, in some cases, a phenomenon called intercepted signs occurs, which makes that in that astral letter not all houses coincide with these elements. In any case, the ascendant matrix and its corresponding distribution of elements and signs always works. In the special case of having intercepted signs, it will be necessary to add the punctual themes of the sign that appears different, interpreting them as an information that adds scenarios and learning, but does not disable what is described below. The way for Leo's ascendant is to be encouraged to become a brave, creative, and expressive person who doesn't care what the world thinks of him. It is worth differentiating. If you're Luna in Leo, you need to draw attention and be creative. If you are Sun in Leo, you are expressive and striking. If you are an ascendant in Leo, you should learn to trust your genuine expression beyond the approval of the family and the environment. How to plant different learners from an ascendant on Leo individuality scenarios. House 1 in Leo. Creative and resonant style, or egolatric and easy to offend. The first sign of the ascendant in Leo is Leo. It suggests a striking and different way to go out into the world by listening to your own heart and developing the courage to express it. regardless of the opinion of others. He proposes to go through his life trusting his artistic talents and try to develop them in independent professions in which to act in his own way, with his ways and his times, at the risk of disappointing his family, because to discover his own name, he will have to overcome the surname. Many times his fear of not being accepted leads him to delay that differentiation, and he hides himself in an inhibited but egotistic personality and easily offended. He believes that if he risks showing himself different, he will be criticized and exiled from his clan. When engaged, he should trust in dedicating himself to what makes him happy, because if his path includes heart, he is likely to end up becoming the pride of his family, and in whom he finally shines and highlights his surname thanks to having risked expressing himself from his peculiar singularity. It is common for him to incursion into art, music, or theater, where he contacts with important and creative people whom he admires and idealizes. The ascendant in Leo usually lives a life where many projections, positive and negative, are put into play, but his destiny challenges him to disillusion fantasies in order to be authentic and express himself from the heart at the risk of disappointing idolatry. House 5 in Sagittarius. Confidence and joy in creating or exaggerated vanity to show. The fifth ascending sign in Leo is Sagittarius, and suggests a cheerful and expansive style to show. Being confident in expressing yourself will be crucial to this ascendant. To have fun with what one does requires not taking oneself too seriously to be able to say and do what one wants without fear of being ridiculous or offensive, but warns of the tendency to become irreverent and altanero for believing someone special or superior. House 5 in Sagittarius invites you to follow the action of your voice in every activity you carry out, to be faithful to yourself and generous to show yourself beyond financial gains or losses, because only following your own fire will come the recognition you so long for. At a level of tension, Sagittarius in House 5 can give you excessive expectations and paralyze you out of fear of not being able to reach them, exaggerated sensitivity to being criticized that lead you to not trust yourself and to move away from your life path. The House 5 in Sagittarius also reveals the relationship with your children that is suggested to be playful, expansive, and cheerful, a space where to share games, adventures, trips, and projects. Children are often a projection of their own undeveloped talents and may lead them to expect them to continue with their vocation or work. At a level of tension, too much pressure is put on the children, who must bear the mandate to accomplish what has not been achieved in their own life. Sagittarius in the children's area can be misinterpreted, and instead of encouraging them to find their own way, their own vision is imposed on them. House 9 in Aries. Courage to open up to new beliefs or combative reactivity that does not allow you to trust. The ninth sign of the ascendant in Leo is Aries. It suggests courage to venture into unknown territories, risk doing activities and tasks that others do not dare, to open up new vocational paths, and enable their surroundings to play to do something different in their lives. Aries in House I proposes to bet on innovative projects in virgin territories, which may include moving to other cities or countries, a situation in which you must trust that it may be easier for you to be successful while away from home. Many ascendants in Leo finally cause their lives when they are encouraged to move away from their family, not necessarily from the physical point of view, but above all, by daring to differentiate and distance themselves from inherited mandates and beliefs. Scenarios of materialization, House 2 in Virgo, efficient generation or restriction, and economic greed. The second sign of the ascendant Leo is Virgo and suggests that he must become a cunning observer of his destiny in order to be able to discover opportunities to generate work and money, learn to find options where others do not see them, and strive to take advantage of every small possibility presented to him. Leo ascending and Virgo in House 2 challenge you to the complex combination that will lead you to discover how a leonine and expressive identity can learn to generate resources, developing a restrictive and efficient laboriosity. Virgo empowers him to discover small treasures in everyday life, that allow him to generate with what others overlook and lead him to become a clever, cautious, and persevering worker who knows how to adapt to restrictive situations. Virgo intention in House 2 invites him to observe how hard it is for him to value himself and to feel confident of himself when he notices his tendency to get used to lack and to remain generating few and restrictive resources, to suffer economic constraints and to live in pain because he cannot feel worthy of the good. The area of material enjoyment, enabled for the cautious energy of the Virgin, will require maturity to self-observe and not fall into the trap of meekness. Achieving to feel deserved of the good is often one of the great challenges of the Ascendant in Leo. House 6 in Capricorn. Efficient working capacity to optimize projects or excessive rigor that sees recurring imperfections that prevent it from moving forward. The 6th ascendant sign in Leo is Capricorn and proposes a great ability to work hard with efficient modes and pragmatic criteria that allow him to his projects. Capricorn suggests that you do not engage in offenses or banality in your daily tasks so that you can grow without deviating from the important things of your daily work. Capricorn invites you to be your own authority, to guide your times and priorities alone, without depending on anyone or having to obey orders. He will feel better if he manages to become his own boss and not submit to the power of others. If you manage to organize and guide your tasks, respecting your modes and your times, your work is likely to become more powerful and creative. Capricorn, rigorous and demanding, also links him to his health and warns of some severity in his eating habits and excessive physical demand. It is difficult for him to record the vulnerability of his body, and he does not know how to give himself time or permission to rest, recreation, or leisure. House 10 in Tauro. Creative contundence in the professional or inertia, to stay in the insurance and inhibit the flight itself. The 10th sign of the Ascendant in Leo is Taurus and suggests that you should learn to sustain your professional projects by yourself. Be stubborn and persevering in the tasks you like until you make them productive, sustainable, and commercially safe. You will have to learn to self-esteem in order to excel at work. In order for it to be possible to do things in their own way, they must insist and make every effort to excel in their profession. Tauro, at a level of conflict, leaves him fixed and frightened in a safe working environment, which, although he does not like it too much, prioritizes safety and comfort over vocation and enjoyment. He may be paralyzed in a professional inertia without advancing or challenging himself further out of fear of losing what he has. Apathetic and lazy, he tends to claim to his environment a lack of recognition, when in fact it should be himself who strives most to stand out in his profession. Taurus in House 10 symbolizes the father and the figures of authority, and in a level of tension, suggests a father who is perceived as a selfish subject who only sought his own comfort or who prioritized his personal ambitions to the detriment of the relationship. The positive side is a sensitive and artistic father who left a legacy of love and professional commitment. Relationship scenarios. House 3 in Libra. Alliances and harmony with peers and brothers, or comparison and competition that inhibit self. The 3rd ascendant sign in Leo is Libra and suggests a subtle and seductive word that allows you to handle yourself in pleasant ways to embellish and pacify your environment. He knows how to listen. He has the cunning to negotiate, and he uses captivating words to promote himself. He moves with ingenuity and skill, knows how to avoid and reach peace, making agreements. At a level of tension, his excessive need to please leads him to say what the other person wants and make it unbelievable. The house, I in Libra, indicates that the brothers make him a mirror, that in them are projected qualities and tensions which often generate comparisons and unnecessary competences. House 7 in Aquarius. Freedom and creativity in the couple, or excessive detachment and feeling of little commitment. The 7th ascending sign in Leo is Aquarius, and suggests that the couple bond will need to find free and creative ways to relate. The couple invites him to encourage themselves to gather love with freedom, to skip standards, and leave mandates to live a love that allows them both to sustain their independent lives, to re-elect each day. Leo's ascendant is attracted to people who express themselves freely, but also his excessive freedom frightens him. However, you must learn to love freely, because if you want to control the other, you will only generate more anguish, ruptures, and unforeseen. In order for your partner to work, it must always include confidence and independence. Likewise, the ascendant in Leo may cost him to have a partner and excuses himself that because he is so strange, nobody knows how to love him as he deserves. Therefore, he tends to isolate himself by feeling strange and eccentric. On a more interesting level, his difficulty in getting a partner should lead him to suspect that his excessive rejection of others denounces an overestimated self-esteem. House 7 in Aquarius is also the sign to partner. Commercial societies will bring revolutionary, unique, and different opportunities, but they must be encouraged to engage in unusual, creative, and original projects that others offer. House 11 in Geminis. Game and camaraderie that encourages your own creativity or dispersion and doubts to be included in projects with others. The 11th ascendant sign in Leo is Gemini and suggests an open and playful way to interact in groups, a great mental openness to include new ideas, and the ability to understand futuristic paradigms. However, he notes a tendency towards superficiality and non-commitment in the projects in which he is involved. Gemini is an air-binding and friendly sign, which makes it easy to join new groups with lightness and playful spirit. Having Gemini in the house of friends makes it easy to a multiplicity of friendships of dissimilar realities, and a freedom to bind without attachment or continuity. A lightweight and playful Geminis relates effortlessly, without commitment, without reproach, and without demand. The more you open up to new purposes, the more creative options will appear in your life, and the more accompanied you will feel in its rarity and originality. Emotional scenarios, House 4 in Scorpio. Strong family commitment that boosts your projects or control family that fills you with blame if you show different. The 4th ascendant sign in Leo is Scorpio and suggests intense and complex feelings towards its origin. He often has excessive dependence on his family because of an extreme need to be loved, which can lead him to remain in the role of the eternal son. Although Scorpio gives him a strong commitment to his own, it implies that he is careful not to be bound to his home of origin for guilt or for fear of differentiation. The person takes refuge in the dependent Scorpion quality that makes it difficult for him to risk going his own way. House 4 in Scorpio invites you to demythitize the family story and learn about secrets not told by the guilt or fears of your ancestors, in order to be able to overcome those harmful emotional habits that, without realizing, reproduces in harmful relationships. The more he accepts his legacy of fear, the more he can transcend it and begin to understand why his inner rejection of himself does not allow him to feel deserving of affection. If he does not heal his history and remain angry with his family, he will arm his own affective reality by repeating similar dissimilar behaviors and will be trapped in eternal family struggles for wasting his time confronting and wrestling with his own, rather than dealing with their own projects. He is not free, but he is not encouraged to break with his family for fear of self-marginalization in a painful exile. In order for this ascendant to sanely develop his creative destiny, he will have to gain self-confidence, and for that, he must have healed his complex, affected history. At an integration level, Scorpio in House 4 gives you empathy and commitment to be able to live every situation you embark on, and also a maximum power of responsibility. Together, they allow you to stay in certain situations or relationships, however difficult they may be. House 4 also describes the connection with the mother and generally indicates that it carries inherited emotions of fear, possessiveness, and mistrust. She will have to overcome those maternal terrors in order to be able to free herself, and also free her from her dense history. The dark and often denied aspects of her mother often flood him with paralyzing fears. Pisces in House 8. Did you know intuition to cross your fears and transform or overwhelming desires to fulfill the dreams of others that lead you to forget your own? The 8th ascendant sign in Leo is Pisces and suggests a high sensitivity to perceive needs and empathize with alien pain. His perception of Piscean unity allows him to surrender with maximum commitment, because every human feeling is close and understandable to him. Pisces in House 8 invites you to rely on your extreme empathy to revolutionize your environment with a life that is encouraged to be lived from a great compassion. At a level of tension, House 8 in Pisces doesn't know how to put limits on others and makes it confused, chaotic to distribute money, energy, or inheritance. He may stick to wanting to fulfill the other's dream, but he must transcend the submission of living as a charming image for others to begin to trust in being himself and express himself in ever more genuine ways, taking the risk of disappointing his surroundings. Pisces in House 8 indicates that, at the time when a person with Leo descent was born, the family home was loaded with spells or excessive projects that could not be carried out and led him to suffer fraud or deception. This situation left the person filled with unconscious fears that do not allow him to trust his own dreams. Cancer in House 12. Love resonance with the needs of the environment, or excessive desire to fulfill family dreams and disguise your own. The 11th second sign of the Ascendant in Leo is Cancer, and it gives you a great sensitivity to grasp what others need. At a level of tension, he perceives what his loved ones long for, and can leave him symbiotic to his environment and make it difficult for him to differentiate and be himself. Cancer in House 12 traps him into family dreams and entices him to stay safe in that nearby environment. His unconscious desire to feel included tends to curb his leonine journey of individuality. His fate proposes to discriminate against his family, but the more he tries to differentiate himself, the more his clan accuses him of being strange and rebellious, and he is more inhibited from expressing himself for fear of being excluded. He lives a double bond with his family. He feels excluded if he goes away, but if he stays, he is not encouraged to be genuine either. Although it is difficult to disappoint the family clan, you must learn to do so without fighting, because by showing your brightest personality, you can revitalize the whole family and even give a new glow to the surname. Summary of the Ascendant in Leo mode. Fixed, comprometido, element. Fire, passion. Learning by destiny, commit to personal desire. Listen to your own heart to be a creative, expressive artist, and learn to recognize your leadership capacity. Tendency to remain a refugee in the family. Suffer, selfish, or self-referential people. He sees creativity only in others. Regent, the sun. The house and the sign where the regent is in the birth card adds information about qualities and scenes where the ascendant will manifest with greater vehemence in Leo. Part of the body that governs and of special vulnerability, the heart. Period of basic learning, from 28 to 35 years, which will condition their deployment, especially from 49. Life mission. Trust in expressing the creativity of your heart. Misinterpretation of the mission. Expecting others to recognize it, but not empowering themselves. Distribution of signs for ascending in Leo. His action destination is Leo. Generate with Virgo. Communicate with Libra. Emotionally stabilize with Scorpio. Express with Sagittarius. Organize with Capricorn. Complement with Aquarium. Transforming with Pisces. Trust Aries. Working with Tauro. Open new projects with Geminis. Resonate with Cancer. If this ascendant finds the way to integrate these proposals, he will, a destiny of original personal creativity, generate efficiently and pragmatically, communicate in seductive and loving ways, be emotionally engaged and deep, express yourself with confidence and enthusiasm, organize with entrepreneurial criteria to large progeria to large projects. Recognize that by being complementary, you become more free and creative. Transform and recycle outdated spells, riskfully trusting to open up new paths. Work with diligence and abundance. Open up to the new with openness of mind. Resonate with maximum protective capacity. If this ascendant does not find the way to integrate these proposals, he will suffer a destiny of eternal search for personal recognition. It generates scarce and limiting resources, communicate in evasive and uncompromising ways just to try to please, be emotionally dominated and submissive, be dogmatic and judgmental, organize your everyday life with excessive austerity and shortcomings, compliment yourself with crazy and abandoned people, disorganize and get depressed every time you have to transform, rely on responsive modes without assessing the risks of that delivery, changing jobs and eternalizing in heavy work environments, instability with his friends, doubting too much to face new projects, being enchanted and trying to be accepted by his family, delaying what he really longs to be.